Okay, so good morning everyone and welcome to this webinar on SAP HCM migration to SAP. SAP, it's Employee Central Payroll, the payroll module of SuccessFactors. Before we get started, I'll take a few seconds to introduce myself and then over to Tony. So my name is Vincent Beauperin. I am the delivery manager for France at Arago. In practical terms, this means that I manage all the team implementing SuccessFactors, including the payroll module, and ensure that the service we deliver meets our customer expectation. I've been working in HRIS for over 25 years, and I have extensive experience in payroll specifically, both in service companies like Arago and in users company like yours. That's it for me. Tony, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Vincent. Good morning. It's nice to be here today for this session. My name is Tony Rivenet, and I joined Arago as a pre-sales consultant earlier this year. I've been working in HRIS for almost 20 years, and I'm specialized in payroll and personnel administration so far. Today, we are going to talk about the future of SAP payroll modules, and we'll follow this agenda. Firstly, introduction to Arago Consulting with Vincent. Then we'll see SAP HCM roadmap and the end of standard support and their consequences. In the third part, we'll explain what it should be interesting to choose Employee Central Payroll as a payroll engine. Then we will develop our offering at Arago, the move to cloud. It is a 12-week lift and shift project. Next, a focus on the payroll control center with a demo. A payroll control center as a modern payroll cockpit. And finally, we will answer your questions. So feel free to write down in the chat the questions you have. And finally, we will conclude and we will see how would be the next steps. So to kick off this webinar, Vincent, could you briefly introduce Arago Consulting, please?
With pleasure. So Arago Consulting is a leading player in the digital transformation of HR and finance function. Founded in 2010, Arago is dedicated to implementing innovative cloud solutions, notably via SAP SuccessFactors and SAP Concur, to meet the growing demand of modern businesses. Arago supports its clients from the start of the project through to past go-live support, including needs analysis, implementation, and skills transfer. Our teams are made up of more than 180 certified consultants spread across 11 offices worldwide, working alongside companies of all sizes, from mid-market to large groups, with proven and recognized efficiency. Our added value lies in our technical expertise, but also in our ability to secure complex projects with an agile approach. So the aim of this webinar is to present our approach to migrating to SAP, Employee Central Payroll. It's a natural next step following the success of our migrating project to Employee Central, which we deployed using the Success to Cloud approach, certified by SAP since 2020. So these two trajectories share the same DNA, leveraging existing assets, ensuring a reliable transition, and methodically onboarding teams.
Okay, fine, Vincent. And could you tell us what type of customer would be eligible for this approach?
Any SAP HCM customer who wants to modernize their system while leveraging their existing assets. We have worked with international SMEs and large groups, and the challenge is often the same: how to successfully transition to the cloud without disruption or additional costs.
Very clear, Vincent. Thank you. And now, before we go into detail about SAP's future payroll solutions, I'd like to set the scene. Vincent, can you remind us why there is so much talk about transformation around SAP HCM at this moment?
Of course, Tony. We are at a turning point. SAP has announced that standard support for SAP ECC HCM will end in December 2027, with a possible extension until 2030, but under certain conditions, and an additional cost via extended maintenance. So even so, we still have some time. It's becoming essential for companies, for you, to think about their path forward. Not necessarily to change everything right now, but to avoid finding themselves in a technical or regulatory dead end. So, Tony, can you tell us more about the main options company can consider?
Yes, of course, Vincent. There are three main scenarios. First one, step with SAP Business Suite with extended maintenance, as you mentioned just before. It is a short-term stability solution, but at a high maintenance cost without any evolution and with risk about regulation. This is neither a medium or long-term solution because you want to avoid the launch of a migration project in the short term. And also you take the risk of a lack of expert resources as the deadline approaches. So that shouldn't be considered as a viable solutions. Second solution is to migrate to SAP S/4HANA on-premise or in a private cloud edition. That allows to transition to S/4HANA without changing the payroll engine, but that's still a transitional option with a limited horizon to 2040 without major functional improvements. An additional benefit with the private cloud edition is the cloud hosting and a simplified infrastructure accordingly. You probably get cost saving with this model. Please note that Arago is able to support you in migrating to S/4HANA, and we are currently doing this kind of project for some of our customers. And we have dual SuccessFactors ECP and SAP HCM expertise. As a conclusion with this scenario, these options are potentially viable as a temporary solution and can give you some space to run projects already planned, for example. But that's not the SAP future-proof solution. For the SAP future-proof solution is to adopt SAP SuccessFactors and Employee Central Payroll, ECP. That is the option promoted by SAP and by us as part of its cloud-first and innovative strategy. The benefits are the following. You keep the basics of SAP Payroll Engine. You get automatically legal updates with enhanced security. And you access to a full integrated suite with SuccessFactors. You stay at the state of the art in innovation with ECP and SAP. The prerequisite is that you must have switched to SuccessFactors Employee Central to enjoy the best experience. So we've just reviewed the different migration options, and before explaining our move to cloud methodology and our lift and shift approach, I'd like to step back. Vincent, in your opinion, what are the most visible benefits for an organization migrating to Employee Central Payroll?
Payroll is an increasingly sensitive exercise, and payroll teams are under increasing pressure. So SAP provides real breathing space. It takes the pressure off the technical team, reduces infrastructure costs through the cloud, and puts payroll manager back at the center of the process. And when SAP is coupled with Employee Central, we maximize synergies. HR data shares in real time. There is a native integration of flows, and the link between HR, payroll, and reporting cycle are much smoother. So Tony, can you confirm that this repositioning of the payroll manager is taken into account in the software solution?
Yes, sure, Vincent, exactly. That's the purpose with SAP SuccessFactors suite. It's a seamless integration between core HR Employee Central and Employee Central Payroll and reporting tools and other modules. As these modules are fully integrated into SuccessFactors, we have a smooth user experience, we feel confident, and we don't have to wait indefinitely to complete end-to-end tasks. For example, as a payroll manager, I can proceed to a contract termination by entering the data in Employee Central, then launching the offboarding process, then proceeding the final pay, and finally, I can run the reports and mandatory certificates related to the termination.
Sorry, and okay, Tony, you're right. And there are other features that make life easier for managers. We also appreciate, for example, immediate access to pay slips, simplified HR requests, for example, the address or the bank details. And with Joule, the SAP Intelligent Artificial Assistant, we are entering a new phase, control, validation on queries via voice or an intuitive interface.
Exactly, Vincent. We are putting in place with ECP the foundations of an intelligent, unified HRIS driven by usage and not by tool constraints as usual.
The bottom line with SAP and SuccessFactors at the end is that they are profoundly changing the role of the payroll department, which is becoming a supervisory, quality and HR advisory function rather than a simple executor. But Tony, let's talk a little about the method. When we talk about lift and shift, we immediately think of a short, uncomplicated project with a high level of capitalization of existing assets. In any case, that's what we wanted in our approach to migrating to SAP. So can you explain us how we achieve this in concrete terms?
Of course, Vincent, you're right. That's our roadmap with our lift and shift approach, structured over 12 weeks and with different accelerator tools. Concretely, we transfer the SAP configuration, the historical employee data, and the payroll result. And all this without any rebuilding or heavy technical works on the customer side.
And that's very important because we know that payroll teams often fear every project. Here, their involvement is minimized. Can you explain why?
Yes, absolutely. The approach is very structured with few workshops and minimal involvement from the customer teams. And for the most time-consuming phase, meaning the testing phase, we use our automated payroll comparison tool for actual time savings. But let me deep dive into our secure 5-step project methodology, if you want. First step, the diagnosis and preparation. We will only analyze your current configuration by running an SAP tool, the readiness check, and filling in a questionnaire to size and calibrate the scope of migration.
Okay, this first step is quick, a bit like a scoping exercise, but I imagine we need to go a little further to ensure we are ISO compliant after the migration. How do we ensure that?
Yes, right. During the analysis phase, we'll hold a few workshops, generally lasting 2 hours and no more than half a day. We'll discuss the target of architecture, interfaces, testing and data migration strategy, and payroll processes to implement into the payroll control center. At the end of these workshops, we will document everything in workbooks. As you should know if you've already realized an SAP project before. And we provide also a PowerPoint presentation summarizing the global design of the solution for better understanding.
I see that we are now entering into the typical activities of an implementation project. And even if the analysis phase is short, which is good news for our client's team, we don't skip the documentation, and it's very important for us. So once we have finished this analysis, does that mean that the Arago teams can move on to configuration completely independently?
Absolutely, Vincent. That's now the configuration phase. From this stage, we will spend several weeks with several activities. Firstly, connecting the source and target systems. Then copying the configuration, including specific ones. Then copying the data and historical data. Configuring the connector with Employee Central. And performing additional Employee Central configuration, for example, to make payslip available and set up the mashup for viewing info types and payroll items coming from Employee Central Payroll. And finally, we will configure the Payroll Control Center.
There seems to be quite a lot of work in this implementation phase, and it needs to be done in a fairly short time. How, Tony, can you tell us how are we going to meet the deadline?
Yes, there is a lot of work to do, but at Arago, we have learned to capitalize on our experience. And we use accelerators that save us valuable time and make the process more reliable.
Okay, yes, I see very well. Thank you, Tony. In your introduction to the project session, you highlight automate comparison tests, and the testing phase is often the most challenging part of a payroll project because there is no room for error in production, and it's essential for the payroll department to have confidence in the system after the switchover. So how can we ensure that we can switch to production quickly and with complete peace of mind?
You're right, Vincent. Testing can be endless when you are not prepared. The advantage of a lift and shift project is that we transfer the existing configurations, and don't rewrite them as we would do in a project from scratch, which significantly limits the risks of regressions.
Sure, that's a real advantage. But trust doesn't mean we shouldn't check. So the idea is to make full use of these 4 weeks of testing, sure. How does that work in practice?
Well, we first start with unit tests. During this phase, we run verification scripts to ensure that every component and data has been correctly transferred. Arago is in charge of this part. Then we perform integration tests with our customer on a sample. We verify that data exchanges are working correctly, particularly with Employee Central. That is a major step to put under control. We have also an acceptance test phase where our customer perform more in-depth and specific cases and more complex business cases. During this activity, our customers can learn to the Payroll Control Center. And finally, the parallel run. This is the most important testing phase, the most reassuring step, and usually also the most time-consuming part. But keep in mind that we provide a tool that compares the payroll items between the source and between the target system. Discrepancies are automatically highlighted and errors are detected for faster correction. We operate the parallel run on the entire population, and this comparison payroll allows you to switch to production with peace of mind eventually.
Okay, so I understand we have a recipe for a control, secure migration that is compatible with the workload of the payroll teams.
Absolutely, Vincent. And we are now ready for the last step of the migration project. I mean the go live, and obviously the first complete payroll cycle.
Okay.
Vincent, can you explain what this last step involves, please?
Of course, Tony. So we are now in the final stages of the project and are starting the support phase. Specifically in order, we will proceed as follows. Migrate the validated configuration to the production environment, then loading the actual data into payroll, and then the payroll team logs into the solution and starts its payroll cycle. During this first post-migration payroll run, our project team will be on hand to assist your payroll teams in using the solution and will be available to quickly resolve any issues that may arise. We maintain this close relationship with you to ensure that this first payroll run in Employee Central Payroll is a success. In conclusion, we have migrated your payroll environment together in the most transparent way possible, with minimal involvement on your part. And since the SAP payroll engine is based on the same approach as previous versions of SAP, users experience a sense of continuity in payroll that is well received.
That's right. Switching to ECP doesn't require any particular involvement on the part of the payroll teams, and usually the payroll managers don't encounter any particular difficulties. By the way, Vincent, I think there are some functional improvements available in ECP that haven't really been mentioned so far.
You're right, and we did it because it's normal to save the best for the last. You and your payroll teams will be able to move up a gear thanks to new built-in features such as the Payroll Control Center, a supervision cockpit, and Joule, the intelligent assistant with features such as Explain My Pay and many more to come.
Thank you, Vincent, for mentioning the Payroll Control Center. And before moving on the tool itself, I suggest we explain what the PCC really is. Vincent, can you summarize the principle of the PCC for us, please?
Sure. The Payroll Control Center, in fact, is a real change. We are moving from manual control using files and control statements to proactive and continuous supervision. Whenever it wants, and right at the start of the month, the payroll department can carry out its payroll checks, make adjustments, and correct payroll results well before the end of the month. Of course, it uses the information available to them at that moment, of course. Tony, so can you give us some example of alerts on indicators?
Yeah, sure. We have, for example, rate errors, variable inconsistencies when a payroll item reaches a limit we specifically defined, or alerts on missing entries, for example, cost centers. This information has to be accurate before running the posting file, for example. Alerts are reported in the cockpit and ready to be dispatched. But that's not all. We also have indicators showing, for example, the number of employees who joined or left the company this month, or KPIs related to payroll mass like total gross or total net, comparison with previous payroll result, and so on.
And we can add the managers appreciate the fact that the alerts can be assigned automatically to the right person. In short, the entire payroll service change gains in efficiency and convenience with PCC. But in terms of indicator, is there a standard deployed with the solution, Tony?
Absolutely. During the migration, we deploy a set of key indicators covering the most frequent and common cases in global payroll activities. And that's based on the best practices recommended by SAP.
Okay, and then we can refine them according to customer specifics?
Yes, we adapt the cockpit to your priorities for greater visibility, better anticipation, fewer corrections, but that's more comfortable to take the necessary time to adjust your control policy with PCC after go live, I guess. And now that you've heard a little about PCC, it's time for a demonstration if you want.
Yeah, sure. We saw that you have some questions in the chat, but maybe we can make the demo and after we will come back to the question.
Yes, please, we can do that.
Okay.
So now it's time for the demo for Payroll Control Center. And we will explain how the payroll can be continuous and collaborative. Just before, let me introduce you three major roles in a Payroll Control Center. The first one is the head of payroll. It defines the payroll cycle processes, defines and develop alerts and KPIs, and finally, he supervises the activity of all the payroll department by launching and closing the different processes. There are also team leaders. They organize the activities of several payroll managers within its scope. And his job is to assign or reassign alerts, for example, regarding to the bandwidth between the different payroll managers. Finally, he ensures the progress of each process all during the months. Finally, and not the least, the payroll manager is at the center of the Payroll Control Center because he's the one who resolves assigned alerts. So now I will share my screen and let me know when it will be okay. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, right. So as you can see, we are on a SuccessFactors suite, and we have the payroll as a module of SuccessFactors. And now we are in the Payroll Control Center, the payroll cockpit. Just a few words about context. Imagine we are already in July and you run a test payroll calculation without any time data integration, no variable payroll item. That will be your first draft. And you want to ensure that personal information or contract information are okay in the system. Plus, you are also interested in checking if this payroll calculation is quite clean. And that's what we are going to do with this first run. Now, let me step back a little to understand how the system alerts works. Firstly, you need to run a test payroll calculation. When it's done, when it's okay, you initiate the policy rules, and this step will create indicators and alerts. These two mandatory steps are now completed, and now we are able to monitor the results in the monitoring parts. Firstly, we have just here KPIs, indicators, generated. For example, you can check the turnover on your scope. Here we have, for example, an employee leaving this month for resignation, and we have no new hire this week. So you have now your turnover. Or you have also KPIs related to payroll results, with comparison between the current payroll and the previous payroll. For example, here we have information about gross pay and net pay, and it's interesting to check the overall situation with the figure and checking the gaps between the previous net pay and the current net pay. Here we have a gap, and at this moment it's interesting also to deep dive to specific existing situation, one by one, people by people. Now, let me show you the art of the system, meaning the alerts. Please take note that alerts are already assigned by the rules implemented into the system. We can configure rules to assign automatically alerts or type of alerts when we run this second step, which is initiate policy. Here we have 6 alerts assigned to Deborah and 2 alerts assigned to Thiago. But as a team leader, my job is to assign the other alerts. I can assign the other alerts one by one or group by group. For example, I want that Deborah deals with employees without cost center. So for that, I assign to her a group of alerts, 3 alerts in this case, directly to Deborah. And I want that Thiago handles with Patricia Montero result pay issues. So I assign to Thiago this specific alert directly. And that's actually what we can manage with the monitoring step in the payroll control center, checking KPIs and dealing with alerts. Okay, let me summarize. At this point, we are early in the month. We run a test payroll cycle. We monitored the result by checking KPIs and by assigning automatically or manually alerts to payroll managers. Now the purpose will be to address the alerts. And to do that, I propose to jump into Deborah's shoes as a payroll manager. So I'm going in my alerts. And me, Deborah, I check my list of alerts and I'm going to address them to reduce my workload. For example, I pick an alert for an employee without a cost center. Firstly, I check in the payroll system. Sorry, that's not the good one. Let me try again. Okay. Okay, now I check in the payroll system. Thanks to a mashup coming from ECP, and I confirm that there is a missing information in cost center in the employee file. So I can apply several solutions. The first one going directly in employee central payroll to realize the change, but that's not a smart choice. Secondly, I can read documentation to understand how to solve this situation. But in this case, that's a quite simple alert, so that's not necessary to do that. And finally, I can go directly in the employee file in Employee Central, and that's what I must do in this case. And when it's okay, when I made the modification in the application, I can mark this alert as solution applied. And if I want, I can add a comment to explain what I've done in Employee Central. Now let's pick another example. For example, a case with an employee with a net pay over 5,000 euros. As before, I can check in the payroll view the data, and I realized that the current payroll is quite similar than the previous one. So in this case, I choose to not apply any solution, any particular solution, but I consider that this alert is resolved, and I make a comment. For example, the payslip is okay. This is a common alert in this case. Okay. Here we have an unexpected alert since several months, and I do inform the team leader or the head of payroll in order to change the rule related to this alert, because that's not productive to waste time each month with unexpected alerts in this case. So finally, what we did within this step, we handled alerts informing about potential issues or mistakes. We corrected, if necessary, employee situation into the system. We ignored also unexpected alerts, and we passed information to administrator to improve next cycle. And now we are in the middle of the month, and while I was working on cleaning the employee files, we assume that time data and variable items have been integrated into the system. And guess what coming next for the payroll teams? So that's quite easy. We are going to launch a second payroll calculation. Then we will monitor again the results, and we will handle potential new kind of alerts certainly coming from time data and variable elements, but that can be also new hires recorded since the first calculation we made. So this cycle is repeated several times according to your process or your calendar, your payroll calendar. And as soon as you have reduced enough issues and cleaned the data, you can finally proceed to the productive payroll. At this moment, we probably are on the last quarter of the payroll months, and we are expecting that the productive payroll will be easier and smoother than the previous one without the PCC. Just have a look at the step in this process. We have new treatments available, like posting simulation, or, for example, the closure of the payroll cycle. So that's it. I hope it was interesting and you've understood how PCC can be a game changer to give back peace of mind for your payroll team. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Tony. Thank you for your explanation. It was very clear, and we know that it's not easy to make a demo like that when you have just a short time. So thank you for that. So the webinar is ended. Let's move on the question now, because we saw that we have two questions on the chat. So there is a first question by Patrick. Is EC payroll usable in Germany, or is the module still in the beta phase? No,
you're right, Vincent. That's not a beta phase. That's already available in Germany, in many other countries managed by payroll with SAP.
Okay, and I think we can add that all local specificities and the legal compliance is secured by SAP.
Yeah.
So there is no issue with that. The second one by Isabelle, maybe I read it. Migrate to Employee Central Payroll in SAP SuccessFactors. It's necessary to have the Employee Central master data configured and active.
Yeah, it's mandatory to migrate in Employee Central to configure properly ECP and have the best experience between EC and ECP.
Yes, I think maybe
it's important, even mandatory to have the employees in Employee Central to have the link with Employee Central Payroll.
Yeah, and we can add too that at Arago, I have already told it in the presentation, but maybe it was so fast. With our Success to Cloud offer, we can combine the implementation of Employee Central and Employee Central Payroll. And
yes.
Adding, yes.
Sorry, Vincent. Yes, you're right. We are able to do the two migrations. For example, if you have a ECC business suite, we can firstly migrate with Success to Cloud in Employee Central. Then we can migrate in Employee Central Payroll.
Okay. Yes. And I can add another thing that we can, of course, in that implementation, we can review on the time management dimension and make the development we need to do. There is another question, Isabelle. Our reality is incompatible with this migration to Employee Central master data.
I propose to Isabelle we deep dive about your configuration with one of our experts in migration to explain how we can face with your reality with your master data and Employee Central Payroll, if you want.
Yes, I think it's a better answer we can do for you. It's important for us to have more information to be able to answer. Could SAP HANA be a possibility? Maybe yes, it is, but we have to understand your situation. Okay, so it's not easy for us to give the right answer. So I have, maybe we can. Thank you too. I have just prepared two or three questions to finish. Tony, can I give it to you? So do we need, no, maybe I look for my first question. So how long does an SAP project take on average, just to summarize?
Yes, it's 12 weeks for a structured package approach with defined deliverable. If the requirements exceed this framework, the project will be more extensive, I guess.
Okay. I have another question. It was the same of Isabelle, so I let it. Okay. And the last one, do we need to train, so it's very important to mention that, do we need to train our payroll manager on new tools?
Not really. The environment remains SAP, and you don't need a specific training. The main new functionality is the payroll control center, but that's not a challenge because it is an intuitive tool that can be learned easily during the testing phase.
Okay, so we understand well that the end of SAP HCM is really an opportunity to modernize your payroll for the long term, and we are here to support you in this transition, of course. So I have finished, Tony. Thank you for all your attention. We hope this webinar has provided you with useful insights.
Yes, and if you still have questions, we invite you to schedule a qualification meeting with our team to assess your situation and identify the most suitable option, like we will do with Isabelle who asked the question in the chat.
So we can see, you can see our contact on the presentation. So of course you can write us, of course. So thank you again, everyone. So we look forward to seeing you soon for the next step in your HR modernization journey. So goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, Tony. Goodbye.